Honestly, I think my favorite cigar that we've shipped out in the last several months has been the Principal Classico Lancero.
We were talking about this the other day.
We were. I paired that cigar with Weller 107, and it was nothing but toasted marshmallows. I mean, it just took me to sitting by a campfire with marshmallows over the open flame,
Sure.
pulling them off when they're way too hot, burning your hands, nuclear in your mouth, but you're like, damn, that's good, and then you just keep doing it. That's how that cigar was for me.
Whenever you are very passionate about a certain cigar, the tasting notes just get more and more extreme. Like you just painted a picture at a campfire as a tasting note of a cigar. I hope we open with that clip. What is going on, Cigar Club family? Welcome back to the Cigar Club podcast. As always, one of my favorite shows to do is with the man, the myth, the legend, the Palate Prince, the co-host of the year, David Pugh.
I like that new title, co-host of the year.
I'm just going to keep adding in more.
I like
and more
it. We're
going
to have some like Game of Thrones type history legacy of a title for me.
Absolutely. This is a show we've both been looking forward to for a while for multiple reasons. One, it takes me forever to send anybody cigars, and I finally sent them to Pew that we've been talking about for months on this podcast. Two, we're in the new office space, the new Cigar Club HQ. It is not done, as you can tell behind me. It's just white plain walls and no chairs. So I'm standing at the standing desk, but guess what? I can smoke inside today.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
On the podcast. So we both get to smoke. We're both smoking the same thing. This is one of those podcasts I've just been really looking forward to talk about what is right here in my hand. Tell them, Pew.
The new upcoming size for Pinkies Out. I've already started on mine. So, Dave, get it in tight. Get in. Look at that. Look at that cap. And show them the foot. Oh. Literally, I went to do a cold draw on this as I normally do. And I was like, oh, this cigar's tight. This is plugged. And I remember.
Get nothing out of this one,
it's
dude.
nothing. It's like trying to draw through a wall. It's crazy. And then I looked at the...
It's like trying to draw through a wall.
Looked at the bottom of it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is a completely closed foot.
So, all right, I'm going to get lit up here. Pew, give the people a little bit of the background on this cigar, what it is, what we're doing, size.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let them know.
So, first off, I want to show, I've got the original here. A little size difference. Not that size does not matter, but you can see good inch and a quarter off. Completely closed foot. I mean, like I said, it was like trying to draw through a wall. Beautiful fantail. Reminds me of the Goldie, which Dave and I have talked about before. One of our favorite La Polina cigars. And I think you said, as I was talking about, a little bit more punch in this one, right? I think we compacted what was there before, added maybe a leaf or two or something here and there just to give it a little more zing.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. And I've been learning a lot more about this through working with Alec Rubin at Alec Bradley and Bradley, and talking with other blenders. I remember having this conversation with the master blender at Ace Prime, Luciano, and talking about not only does ring size affect flavor profile and strength, but even just shortening it. Because when you take a Ligero leaf, for instance, if for the Ligero that's in this, or for the Viso, the high priming stuff that's in here, they're basically taking a leaf and they're ripping it and folding it over itself. But the tip of the leaf has way more potency than the base of the leaf. So we're getting more of the top part of the Ligero in this because it's such a short cigar. They don't have to use the full leaf. So
you're getting all the kick.
They're still going to pull some of the base and put it in there to even it out. But you're getting more flavor, more power from the higher priming tobaccos in here because it's a shorter size.
Yeah, and immediately, it's been a while since I smoked the original Pinkies Out, maybe a month or two. But immediately on those first draws, I can tell there's a little bit more zazz to start things off with.
Yeah, it's like I'm here, right? The Pinkies Out, and I did a video a few weeks back where I smoked both side by side. That was so interesting. I was getting stuff out of the original Pinkies Out I had never had before, and granted, it's now been sitting for a long time, and I hadn't smoked it in probably a month or two. And there was this real nice, like, sweet toasted coconut situation going on with the full length Pinkies Out. And then I grabbed this one, which I don't know if you said it, but we're calling the Pinky.
The Pinky, no, I didn't know we had
the Pinky people.
I love it. That's right.
I lit this up and I'm like, oh man, this doesn't ease you in with some like touches of sweetness and just like kind of a sweet tobacco taste. This is like takes you right to that full flavored, a little bit of strength, not much, but just like a tiny bit of strength. There's still some of that sweetness, but just holding this cigar makes me excited.
It feels
Right?
good, and I can't wait to see the band on it because it'll just fit perfectly with it. But right away, starting off, have a nice little white peppery tingle on the tops of my lips that I don't think I got. If I recall correctly, I don't think I got on the original.
Yeah, and there's this like a slight leathery kind of taste, and still though, what I love is it has that backbone of like fresh bread.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
just has that. That's what stays to me when I exhale. It's just like doughy kind of fresh bread, which I love that. So anyway, we're lighting this up here. I'm really excited to talk more details on it. I don't know, every time we get to do a Cigar Club exclusive, it's some of the most fun that I have. And Pew, now that you're up and running, we've already been talking about 2 or 3 more brands that want to do exclusives that we're going to work on together to get them out for the club. And it's just so much fun to be able to collaborate with the pros, the ultimate cigar pros, and make something that's really special for Cigar Club.
Absolutely, and it's special because it starts with, like, once again, as we've said numerous times, like, we're cigar smokers, right? So it starts from this place of passion and enthusiasm and wanting to learn and put something out in front of everyone that's either a challenge to their palates, our palates, or just something completely different that we haven't done for an exclusive before. And I'm loving where this is starting off with. Yeah,
and so to go back to some of the things we did to the cigar visually that I want to talk about, because it really pumps me up. This is my last one. So this was the bag that came in with the little post-it
This was my
note.
one and only. So,
and I don't know, the fantail. I fell in love with doing a fantail on top of a cigar when I first smoked the La Polina Goldie, which is one of my favorite cigars of all time, the Dahlia. And I mean, I don't know. Every time we release something, I feel like we put a closed foot on it. But this is different. This is not like delicately, like casually closed where it's still kind of roughly at the edge. This is a sealed foot. And you
that's
commented
probably
on
the better way to say it is it's a sealed foot. I mean, I know we were saying La Colmena has a similar, but I mean, that one at least had some type of draw through.
You get nothing on this. No cold draw.
No, nothing.
Which I kind of like.
It's
you
really
just
cool.
got to freaking light it up and go. And
Yep,
I mean,
exactly.
already though, which I love too, is a lot of times with closed foot, you get that first kind of quarter inch is a little skeptical on the draw, on the burn, not on this one.
No, not at all. A lot of times for a closed foot, what I'll normally do is I'll give it a little light, let that catch on, do a draw through it, and then I'll have to just torch the hell out of it because it doesn't burn properly. This one, I think maybe because the tobacco was a little tighter on the foot, like it really started to combust well into the actual foot of the cigar past the closed foot or the sealed foot. I like that. We're calling it sealed foot.
Yeah, sealed foot. Okay, deal. There's something about this profile automatically where I'm like, give me some coffee or give me some rum.
So, thanks.
Oh, God, here we go.
We're on it.
On the typical Pew, drinking on the clock.
Well, you set me up, and little did you know, one of the things that I loved most, well, not even that, I have another one teed up. Here we go. The one thing that I loved most about Pinkies Out, the original one, and I imagine we're going to find it here as well,
Sure.
or I will. I think that cigar can literally pair with absolutely anything. Whether you started off with rum, coffee, bourbon, wine, whether a red wine, a white wine, soda, I mean, pick your poison, whatever your favorite beverage is to pair with a cigar, Pinkies Out will probably land perfectly with it.
You know, it really does. I forget who it was. I think the Bourbon Junkies went 4 Roses single barrel, but like the one you can get in the store, not like a pick.
Yes.
4 Roses single barrel. And to me, I still go back to that. I think it's such a good call for this cigar. I think 100 proof is kind of where I would level off pairings with this stick, personally. You might be able to do like a Weller 107.
Yeah.
But the more proofy it gets, you're going to lose some of the nuances in this. Granted, the Pinky this size is a little punchier, like we said.
Yeah.
But you can play a lot around with this, and that's the whole point of this brand anyway, and why we called it Pinkies Out is, one, Alec is a huge bourbon fan. I'm a huge bourbon fan. Pew loves bourbon. I mean, everybody in Cigar Club and at Alec Bradley loves bourbon. And the whole artwork and everything is these two guys smoking cigars and what we like to say, like, sipping bourbon there with their pinkies out. And exactly, there you go. Or rum. So like this being able to pair with a lot of spirits was really important. And so there's no one better really to go to in this industry to have them blend you a cigar that works with lots of spirits than Alec. So I'm just I just love looking at the cigar. I love the size. I'm excited for you to get into this first third, into the second third, and start to see more dramatic changes that happen with this shorter size. Because again, the layering of the filler tobacco is just more abrupt. It doesn't have all this time to like coast you in, take you from like the bottom of the plant to the middle to the top. It's like it all happens a lot quicker.
You're starting at the top of the roller coaster on the pinkies, on the pinky.
And we're going to do these in these badass 10 packs with black paper wraps and that sticker that everybody knows on it. Ooh. So the presentation is going to be there. Obviously, they're in production. So they're currently just sitting and aging for the next couple of months before we bring them out.
Nice. Well, definitely looking forward to that one.
So
I think that'll be a good follow-up.
Yeah, so do I. Pew, talk to me a couple sips in on the Diplomatico. Big fan of that rum. With the pinkies, what are we getting? What are the geeky... What's the smoked paprika notes that we're getting here?
The smoked paprika. So I haven't had a cigar in a few days here, and I haven't drank anything in a few days since
Are you feeling
the
okay?
weekend. Well, I am now. So it's hot outside, so the water has really diluted the rum. So rookie mistake, but it's miserable outside. So I wanted to be at least a little bit cool. But going back to Diplomatico, we'll get it back on the screen again. This is the Diplomatico Reserva.
Love it.
One of really my first foray into non-Captain Morgan spiced rum was the Diplomatico Reserva, and love pairing it with a cigar. It just has these notes that go well. It's a little sugar. I'm sure rum purists will say it's probably
molasses,
added sugar, but for me, it gives me the sugar that I want out of a rum. I want something a little bit higher in sugar content. It gives me the kind of like dark, caramelly, almost like burnt caramel.
Yes.
In a way. And then you have all these lovely spices with it. And I've always found that it just pairs really well with a cigar. And so far, it's really complementing the initial kind of spice that I got to start off with, that white pepper that was on the lips. And now I'm getting that bread note. I always got almond out of the first Pinkies Out. So I'm trying to see if I can see that's in here as well.
That's interesting that you get almond. Because I was getting this like toasted coconut, and if you put those together, you get a freaking almond joy, just about. And that's a banging profile to have on the first third of a cigar, no matter who you are. And talk about pairing that with a sweet rum. That's like overload greatness.
Overload.
And there's just enough of that pepper. There's just enough of it to not just be like overly sweet with no like complexity on the tongue.
Nicely.
Yep.
Exactly.
Super balanced. I agree with that.
And I mean, so far, it's windy as all get out right now, and I have a beautiful ash holding on. So. Always a sign of a start of a good cigar.
No, it totally is. All right, so we're going to be smoking this whole episode. We'll come back, check in on things, how it's developing. Feel free to interject always, Pew, if you hit something that just blows your mind.
Oh, yeah. We're usually when it goes, it's funny, you just said almond joy, now I'm like thinking almond joy. I'm like, that was a little bit of coconut there.
The, it's always, I always say this, but whenever we sit down to do like a 2 days, 2 palates vibe episode where we can just talk cigars, stuff that's coming for the club. I know all of you listening really enjoy these. I really enjoy talking through these. We've been doing a lot of interviews lately, which is also the point of this podcast, is to bring you guys not only behind the scenes on what we do in cigars and the cool projects like Pinkies Out that we do, but also let you guys get to know these brands and owners better and better. Because I always found transparency to be one of the biggest hurdles in cigars for a consumer before I got into the business.
Exactly. I mean, I remember back in 2016 when I really got into smoking, I was so jealous of going, at the time it was, wasn't PCA, it was...
Oh, IPCPR.
Yeah, I always butcher it, so thank you. And like, there's just curtain, right?
Yep.
Like, you saw a couple media posts from it. You would maybe see some exclusives that were coming out, but realistically, there wasn't much that you got out of it as a consumer until maybe months later. The segments and the interviews that have come out of TPE that you've shot with Griff and yourself and numerous other industry titans, best way to put it, is awesome, because that's what I've wanted for the last 6 or 7 years.
Right.
And so to be able to pull that out and put that in front of everyone, it's been a joy for me to watch, and I imagine everyone else has enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, and I loved pulling some of those brands in there that I hadn't heard of, right? Like Varia Cigars. Or we've shipped Casa Cuevas, but I've never sat down and talked with Alec or Louis Jr. Over there, either Luis Jr. And it was just fun to be able to do that and bring that level. And then last week, of course, we were in Key West and dropped that one with Danny, and that's just a special place and a special guy. And there's a lot of amazing things coming out there. Some cool cigars I got coming your way, Pew, that you'll have to, we'll bring them out on the show as well.
I like it. Had you been back to Key West since that, the last time you were there for Familia?
No. And when we did Familia, we did it in Nicaragua. So
okay.
I hadn't been to Key West since I worked in cigars.
Wow.
Because I went to Key West on a different business trip where I met Danny, where I got to know him. We smoked cigars, hung out, and all that. And then several months later, I started CigarClub, and it was like Danny's first person I'm calling to get in these boxes because he was the first person that pulled back the curtain, right? Yeah. And to me, the more you meet people in this industry, the more you appreciate the ones that don't just tell you like, oh, you can't know, like, you don't get to know how that happens or this happens or I know the magic sauce. And it's like, hey man, everybody's making the same thing, cigars, right? That come from the same type of plant in one of like 3 countries, maybe 4 or 5. Okay. But they're being made in mainly 3 countries. And it's like, we're geeks about cigars and we just want to hang out and talk and learn everything we can about them. So when people like Danny, or brands like HVC, or Alec Bradley, when they open up their doors and their knowledge, it's like, man, we want to share that with everyone here at CigarClub because they shared it with us. And that's all, that's what we've talked about wanting this podcast to be, is like, how do we take the knowledge we're getting or the really cool insight when we're freaking out because we're having calls with this person or that person in the industry and just like pass it on through to the podcast.
Exactly.
To the fan.
Exactly. So how was returning? You said you were at Key West over the weekend. How was returning as someone now in the cigar industry? Obviously, you just talked about Danny's special place with it. I mean, that's got to be something. The trip looked amazing, and I'm loving all the content coming from it. I was super jealous of all the things that you've shared with me, the boat ride and the coffee. Yep. That coffee, I imagine, was amazing that they made at Danny's place.
The coffee was amazing. If you haven't seen that coffee review, you'll know it truly was amazing. Because it did something no other coffee had done before on our YouTube channel. So go check it out. But it was pretty exciting returning to that and kind of also knowing a little more in a good way. Not like I'm always wowed anytime I go into a cigar factory, whether it's a small one with 3 rollers or a large one with 70 or 100 or 300. It's still like is equally as exciting. But it was cool to kind of know what they were doing and be like, Danny, what new tobaccos are you working with? And he'd bring me over the bales. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember we used this and that. And oh, I love this tobacco. And then we'd make puritos out of it and smoke it. And we actually shot a whole video on like blending the start of this new blend we're working on and 3 prototypes that Danny had made. And we talked through each one. And then essentially on that show we're going to release, greenlit one of them to move into the second round. So that's awesome. That was cool. It was just way more hands-on this time. I went there as a deer in headlights, excited, fascinated by everything, didn't know much about anything they were doing, to having a deeper understanding and getting to appreciate it at a different level this time.
Yeah. And I know you tried your hand at rolling. There has to be content around that.
So we also shot vlogs every day. So
beautiful.
If you're listening to this, stay up to date on our YouTube channel, and we're going to be dropping all of that content over the next couple of weeks because, again, what our goal is to take the experience we're getting for the first time rolling a cigar, hands-on blending a cigar, being in a factory, whatever that case is, and have that fly on the wall camera the whole time so that we can share it and people can be like, I feel like I was a part of that.
That's awesome.
So
I love it.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. Me painfully working my way through a cigar. But other than that, no, it was a great trip. It was a lot of fun. And Danny announced doing he didn't say the name, and we're not going to disclose the name yet, but over dinner and drinks one night, he offered us a full-on cigar brand that would be exclusive to the club and at his Key West factory. So 2 places that you can get that, but we're going to do it in boxes and bands and
that's
full release.
Special.
So that was a pretty special moment because that was something we talked about the first time I met him before I was in the industry, of just like throwing ideas around. I was, too big for my britches back then anyway. And he kind of laughed it off.
Hey, walk tall, right?
And he kind of laughed it off. He's like, yeah, I'd love to do a cigar named blank and do it this profile. And we never talked about it after that, 2 years later. And so for him to come back and be like, hey, remember when you mentioned that to me like literally 2+ years ago?
Awesome that he's still thinking about it.
And
too.
he's like, I want to give that to you guys. I want you all to have that blend. And I was like,
look at that podcast drop right there. A little announcement of an announcement. I am going to interject with a update here. First
Update
off, I'm really nervous about
Mr. P.
really nervous about holding this over the computer because of how windy it is. But
my.
beautiful ash. Just starting to get pops of citrus, which I don't think I got on the original Pinkies Out. So it could be coming from the rum pairing with it, drawing that out a little bit more since there is some citrus notes in the Diplomatico. But I am going to have to ash this because I don't trust it. But if it wasn't windy, I bet that could hold on for another inch.
Wow. What profile-wise, because you're a little further than me, mine has gone full sweet. Like it's like caramelly almost and like sticky. But it looks like you're just past that. Are you still in that range or what's going on?
Yeah, so the spices dropped. I'm not getting the white pepper on the tongue anymore. That draw right there was mainly that toasted bread note that you talked about. Hints of almond, and then every once in a while I get a pop of citrus, like orange zest. So if you're, basically zesting an orange on top of a cocktail or a salad dressing, just little hints of that, which is really nice. But I think that may be the rum pulling that out. I'd be curious to see smoking this without pairing with it, or why as you smoke it. I don't think you're drinking anything right now.
I'm not.
Seeing if you get any of those citrus pops.
I haven't got it yet, but again, you are further along than me, so I will let you know most certainly if that happens. In the same vein of traveling to different brands and getting to know this and opening up the closed curtain, if you will, Pew, we had a really interesting call the other day with a much larger brand than anybody that we normally talk to. I don't know. We have our crew of people that we do a lot of work with, and this particular brand has cigars that were in, I don't know, the most legendary name in cigars. The cigars that when I first got into cigars, that's what I smoked. The ones I still go back to on special occasions, like the real deal. Some of these amazing brands that they own and represent. And to me, that was a really cool evolution, and it's going to be a really cool evolution for this club.
I agree.
To introduce and to bring those now into the forefront for people. I'm curious, and we can definitely talk about the brand names. Is there one from their line that you're most excited to really dive into their line and start smoking as we, plan what boxes they're going to go into?
Yeah, so there's two, and since I can name drop, Cohiba lines, just because...
Any specific Cohibas?
I have one sitting in my office, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to come through. The Series M is one that's been...
Have you smoked
dying
it?
to smoke. No, I haven't. It's
it?
sitting in my... No, I have it. It's in my humidor.
I haven't even seen it in person.
That's how excited I was. It's gorgeous. God, the bands on it just pop. But yeah, so the Series M, and then they're...
Which is made in Miami at El Titan de Bronze.
It is, El Titan. They're the Cohiba Connecticut as well. I've been on a Connecticut kick recently, so I'm really excited about that one. I haven't smoked it before. I don't have it. But that's the one I think... Ooh, Jesus. This wind is killing me out here today.
Pew's got his model fan on. And
blowing. No, what's happening is I have a half full ashtray over here that's just every time I ash is blowing in my face. But excited for both of those cigars, especially the Connecticut. I've heard really great things. I heard it's not your average your dad's Connecticut.
Sure.
It's got a little more pop and zing to it, like we like in our Connecticut's. And then I've smoked a few. The Macanudo lines have really kicked off with the silver, the black, and the blue.
Okay.
There's a couple. I have a ton. I've smoked a couple of those from those lines, and they're really good. I was taken away. I went in with we had an general event, and he was like, "Hey, try these. You're gonna like them." He knew what I smoked. We had hung out before, and I knew. I was like, "Man, I don't smoke General." Like, I had this really preconceived notion. This was maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dude, trust me. These are not your normal. These not a Crystal Cafe Macanudo. These are completely different." And he was right. I smoked them. I think I smoked both with coffee, and they were fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the evolution of where I'm at as a cigar smoker 3 years later, because it's been about that long since I've smoked those, to see how they hold up.
Yeah, definitely. And there's plenty from their core brands that I'll smoke on, like, it's like the Christmas smoke or this. But aside from like the first 2 years I started really smoking, that gap window of like 4 years, I haven't, they're not in my, consistent rotation.
Same.
So now with the samples coming in, as we start to play around with them and get to know the brands better and the blends better, it's just going to open up a whole new world of being able to share like really well-made, ultra premium cigars with everybody
cigars
listening
too, right? I think that's what I'm excited for the most.
I mean,
it's just
the original cigar brands are in this portfolio.
Yep, and that's what I'm excited. I'm really excited not only to enjoy the cigars, right, but to deep dive into those stories, to share those stories, and maybe things that don't generally get talked about. Since it is a larger brand, right? They've got forefront, but things that we don't get to know, and those will be really exciting to pull out and kind of learn more.
Massive flavor change just hit. By the way, I fully agree with you
getting?
on all of that. And we'll continue to always tell deeper stories about cigars beyond tasting notes. I need to take one more puff. I think it like completely changed. Like I wasn't really thinking about it. And you were just talking, I was listening, took a puff and was like, uh-oh. Bold change.
Hey, I appreciate the full stop because that's...
Dare I say we're getting to like a cinnamon.
Okay. I get a little on the retro.
Like sticky, bright, maybe almost floral, but like, and spice on the side of my tongue. Not heavy, but it's like more spice than I've gotten in the whole thing. And that's probably my favorite puff I've had so far. And it was dramatic.
Yeah. I love when that happens. Like
dramatic.
You're just, like you said, sitting there not paying attention, and then it hits you.
Look at that.
Look at that perfect burn line. Jesus, I'm getting blown away here. But those you're... Even if you're like sitting down to fully taste a cigar, which we're doing here, obviously we're doing something else at the same time, so we're not fully dedicated to it. But when it hits you and you don't expect it, and then the flavor pops as well. So not only does the flavor change, but you're able to identify what it is. It's great.
Pew, are there cigars for you? I'm just throwing these questions at you, Pew, because I need to.
Fire away.
The past couple,
I got a little rum in me.
The past couple months, we've shipped a lot of like some new brands, some brands we've carried for a long time. New sizes and stuff. Are there any that are standing out to you maybe over the past couple months that we've shipped out that you're like, I kind of just freaking love this cigar right now?
The HVC La Rosa.
Oh,
dumb.
The Maduro. Dumb. Yep.
The Maduro. Dumb how good that cigar is. The Juarez Chihuahua.
That cigar makes no sense when you look at the price
that
point.
Cigar,
too.
It does not. Yes, it is. I mean, I've smoked the Juarez before, but that size was mind-boggling. And then, honestly, I think my favorite cigar that we've shipped out in the last several months has been the Principal Classico Lancero.
We were talking about this the other day.
We were, and that's what makes me think of it, because I paired that cigar with Weller 107, and it was nothing but toasted marshmallows. I mean, it just took me to sitting by a campfire with marshmallows over the open flame, pulling them off when they're way too hot, burning your hands, nuclear in your mouth, but you're like, damn, that's good, and then you just keep doing it. That's how that cigar was for me.
Whenever you are very passionate about a certain cigar, the tasting notes just get more and more extreme. Like you just painted a picture at a campfire as a tasting note of a cigar. I hope we open with that clip.
And that's what it was. And like I had side by side. I was drinking 2 bourbons at the time. Maybe I was getting a little bourbon in me, but I had a wheated and a non-wheated. I think it was a rye even. And when I had the rye and then I'd go for the cigar, no marshmallows. As soon as I had that wheated bourbon, that sweetness from it, it just brought it out, and it was fantastic.
Isn't that amazing?
I love it. That's why I love doing the pairings and talking pairings and trying different pairings, because there's so many things that completely you don't expect.
Right.
And you're just like, wow, this was meant to be.
And I hope a lot of you who listen to this podcast are watching on YouTube. Whoops. What's up if you're watching? You guys are members of Cigar Club, and you know every month when you get your selections, there's suggested pairings for every cigar that Pew is going through and painfully having to smoke and drink different things to be able to get there.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's a difficult life. But that's such an important part of the experience. Granted, myself, more times than not, I'm not drinking anything besides like water when I'm smoking. More times than not. But call it 70%. But it's so funny. Whenever like the weekend hits and I'm having a cigar, forget it. It's getting a pairing. It's definitely nothing we're working on or have done. It is grabbing something from, because we all have our own monthly subscriptions to Cigar Club that we get that's tailored to us. And I always pull from that box one of the brands that we ship that month, and I just enjoy it. And I look up the pairing and I go for it. And that is when I can switch it from being cigars for work, cigars for pleasure, is when I bring pairings into the picture.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, like you said, during the week, I'm normally smoking during the day, and I'm not, other than now, I'm not too inclined to be drinking with it.
Right.
So normally it is water or like a bubbly plain seltzer or something like that. So either nighttime as it gets cooler during the fall and summer, or the fall and winter, or the weekend, I'll grab a pairing with it and just enjoy it. Like it's a completely different atmosphere because you're sitting back, you're not trying to think as much. And that's where I try to do try new things that I don't traditionally would normally pair.
So what was your, you went to the lake for July 4th, right?
I did.
What was the cigar pairing situation for your July 4th?
I smoked Guardian of the Farms. Mm-hmm. What's the
JJ?
The JJ.
The Robusto?
That's what it
Yeah.
was. Yep.
God, I
the
love that
Robusto.
size.
And I paired it with a cryo-hopped double IPA out of Trim Tab Brewery in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, a double?
And a double. It was crushable.
What?
It's scary to have a double IPA that's 7% that you could just casually throw back 3 or 4 pints and not feel like you just drank a double IPA.
So wait, because I'm not, I love beer, but I'm not, I don't know as much about beer as I know about cigars or coffee or even bourbon. What makes it a double IPA? Is it the double amount of hops? Is it just that's higher ABV? What is there something that quantifies a double IPA, or is it it's just super strong, super hop forward, so we're calling it double?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I've recently just got into drinking IPAs. I used to be strictly stout, sour, lagers, and then local place had a IPA they came out with, and it was fantastic. It was a hazy IPA. Loved it. Was unlike any IPAs that I'd tried before. So maybe I just tried really bad IPAs, but now I'm into IPAs.
Yep.
So there's beer geeks that'll hopefully
If you
be listening
know,
that
please
could
comment.
Yeah, comment below. Tell me
Cigars bottle
what makes
knows.
a double IPA. But I haven't made the jump into beer as I've done whiskey, right?
Sure.
Or cigars, where I'm really trying to get into it. I'm still trying to learn wine, and that's where I've taken up my...
To be honest, getting down the rabbit hole the way I go down rabbit holes in beer scares me. And I think that's why I haven't done it, because I just enjoy beer. And I enjoy that sometimes all I want is a Bud Light, and I enjoy that sometimes all I want is an IPA. And I don't want to not be able to enjoy my Bud Light or a super light lager or something that has pineapple in it, or I don't want to be snobby about it to where I can't enjoy beer anymore, because I love beer.
No, absolutely. And for anyone listening, if you want to look it up, I was drinking Frozen Lands out of Trim Tab Brewery. And I hate that it's probably a limited release, and I probably won't be able to find it anymore. But man, it was good, and it went great. I mean, that's literally got to the lake at 11, and immediately lit up a cigar before all the kids get there. Cracked open a double IPA to start the day off with, and I'll let you imagine how the rest of the day went. So then the next cigar that I had was the Fratello Bianco Boxer.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
And I'm pretty sure I was just drinking straight Miller Lite at that point. So it was great.
Just at that point, it's just like bubbly water.
I had a belly full of barbecue, belly full of just 15 different desserts because it was a huge party, and just sat back. They had a live band playing, and it just created the atmosphere, right? Great day, great ending to the day, great cigar, and a perfectly fine beer at that point of the day.
That sounds like a damn good time. I smoked the La Rosa 520 on 4th of July, and it was just awesome.
It's so good.
I'm distracted again by this cigar. Okay.
You getting?
I tried to ash 3 times, and it won't let me. Although now you know it's going to fall.
Right on the computer.
Right on the computer.
Desk.
However, another change. Now it's starting to change for me very frequently. So I had that brighter cinnamony floral thing. Then it went back to straight leather, and all of this has kept maintaining this kind of bready undertone. But it's this really nice sweet leather, and I'm really freaking digging this cigar. It's
leaving just enough for me to want to come back for more, right? So it's got a medium to long finish. The construction's flawless, which is, there's nothing more frustrating than having a cigar that has this great finish where you don't need to pick it up every 5 seconds, and the construction's terrible, so it goes out for you before you go back for another puff. This one, in these 10-mile-an-hour winds that are gusting through, holding strong, not going out. I mean,
I'm at it.
Fantastic, and it's going great with the rum.
I'm at that last puff is a red hot cinnamon candy finish, and it's still there. It's still there. Yeah.
I'm getting more of the cinnamon on the retro
baby.
on the palate right now. It's still that bottom note of dough, that toasty bread. And then the top note, still no pepper. The pepper hasn't come back yet, which I'm perfectly fine with. But it's leather, a little bit of those citrus pops every once in a while, and then a finish of cinnamon on the retro. And it's great. And you need to, whenever you get another, drink it with some Diplomatico because it's...
I wish I had a damn cup because I'm looking at my Papa's Pilar rum over there, and I'm like, this would be a banger with it.
Is it a shared bottle?
No, it's mine.
Ah, well, then just pull from the bottle. Come on now. Make Danny proud.
I will. I might actually go grab it here in a second. But this cigar is blowing my mind. I don't mind saying this, what I'm about to say, that I'm enjoying this even more than the original size Pinkies Out.
I was sitting here waiting for you to say whatever you're saying, then I was going to follow up with that. I agree. It still brings those similar profiles as the first one. It adds a little bit more pop, a little bit more zazz, a little bit more zing, a little bit more of a reminder.
Totally. There
on the finish. And then it's just I'm impressed with the construction.
It's really freaking good. We have, I'm like looking at, I was just trying to scroll through to see all the exclusives we have coming up. This one I'm beyond excited for. We have the Ranger from Aganorsa, which is guarding the farm like you smoked on July 4th in a size. For us, that I have one left of, and I almost brought it to the office today. And I'm like, maybe I'll smoke this. I'm like, I just can't yet. I can't until I know they're like done and I can get more.
If you're setting me up for what I hope you're setting me up for, I'm so excited.
Oh, okay. And now that's a lot of pressure now, Pew. Okay,
hey,
where I'm taking
come on
this, because I think this is a great way to kind of like finish out a podcast where we're talking a lot about exclusives and projects is another new one that we're working on with LH Cigars.
Swing. He pointed to the fence.
I got it?
Delivers.
Okay, good.
He nailed it.
I've smoked it. Pew, you just smoked it. And
I just smoked it.
I don't have all my notes because I have more to smoke, which is normally when I'll start taking notes. So tell us a little bit about what you're getting from that. This is a potential Cigar Club exclusive from our good friend Nick at LH Cigars at his factory in Costa Rica.
So the last cigar I smoked was this potential exclusive with LH. Immediately, cold draw, raisins. Oh, it was wonderful. It took me back to the first CAO basin. Their wild basin, I think, or basins they call it. Their Amazon
with the
basins. Yep. That cigar was the first cigar that really gave me raisins, and I loved it. Their second release wasn't as raisiny when they did the re-release of it. So to be able to get that just in your face, easily identifiable raisins was wonderful. Nice oily wrapper, left a nice little oil sheen on the lips.
It was dark.
It was dark. It was dense, and it felt like your dad's cigar. Like just this thick, heavy cigar that's got weight to it. You know, there's cigars that we've talked about before where it just feels light in your hands, like it's going to blow away.
Yep.
No, this sucker wasn't going anywhere, and it was perfectly constructed for how oily it was. Normally, I think of an oily cigar. I may have to touch it up every once in a while. Not the case on this one.
Wow.
But to give a quick little rundown, not to spoil the whole thing, bitter chocolate, raisins as the top note, little cinnamon on the retro. Starting off, jumped into the halfway mark. Raisins kind of took a back seat. Chocolate and then a toasty sourdough were playing through it, and it was wonderful.
For me, the most memorable thing on that cigar was chocolate. And it was one of the most prominent chocolate-forward cigars I've had since Familia that we did with Rodriguez. Like a chocolate bar.
And that was one of the things, it was a completely different chocolate than Familia.
And it's such a dense cigar, like you said. Mm-hmm. It makes it feel even more like you are smoking a chocolate bar. Like you said, it's totally different. Totally different countries. It's Nick's it's his wrapper that he grows in Ecuador, I believe. It's his seed varietal, his farm. It only grows that wrapper for LH, and which is kind of badass.
That's super cool.
There's something about that cigar that is so different. Also very different than anything we've ever done as an exclusive.
That's one of the things I've written down. It was completely different than what we've offered.
And so we've just started that process. So he sent us a couple different samples to try and begin that process of selecting one that we want to do for the club, and that'll be a Cigar Club exclusive. I could bet late 2021, early 2022. But I also love the idea of make it in Costa Rica. Let's go.
Yeah.
Now we will have had cigars that our members have smoked through either customs or exclusives in the U.S., in Miami, in the DR, in Nicaragua, and now in Costa Rica. Oh, and Honduras, which is where Pinkies Out is made.
Yep, I was going to say
we've hit
Honduras.
them all.
Yep.
Like, that's badass.
That's super cool. It's a taste through journey through cigars almost, Look at that.
I am almost halfway through
Love
this
it.
cigar. I have to ash it. I'm too scared. Wow. Dude, I'm really loving this stick, and wow.
It just, yeah. I see you're holding it. It just fits. Get that pinky out. Just fits.
And I'm not even halfway through it, and we've been chatting for probably, half hour, almost maybe 35 minutes, and this is a slow burn because it is packed.
Yeah.
You get some of those smaller cigars that are lightly packed, and you're like, you sons of bitches. And
yep.
And
I have a couple that come to mind.
Gone in 30 minutes, and then you've over smoked it anyway, so your mouth is on fire, and it's like a sponge. Not this sucker.
Yeah.
I'm smoking this fast.
Nope.
I'm not smoking it like quickly. I'm constantly, every time I'm not talking, I'm chiefing this thing. And it is hard as a rock still. The draw is perfect. The burn is flawless. The flavor is complex and balanced. Oh, I'm so excited for this to come out.
And I think it was it Alec that said this should have been the original? Like it.
Well, we both
fantastic.
are so fond of the People's Toro,
But
the 6x48.
Yeah. But I love the size. I think it's the size that does it for me because it fits so well with Pinkies. But I love I'm excited. I'll have to smoke the original. I think I have 2 left. I want to smoke that soon just because, I love it. Like I said, that to me is one of the ultimate pairing cigars. There's no wrong pairing with it. I want to go back to it now. I was going to smoke it here, but it's just not the day for it.
No, save it. Go the next day, or sometime when you can smoke it again and
it could be
fresher
Saturday
palate
cigar,
and look
Sunday
at
cigar.
what you got.
Yep, I'm excited for that. But these going to take too long to get more in my hands.
I know. I agree with you.
I'll just
Especially
leave it at that.
This is the last one. I'm like, Alec, can you just send us a hold us over kind of bundle? It doesn't have to be banded.
Yeah.
Just get them over here,
we need
please.
to check how they're doing with some
age.
age.
We have to check it on the production because that's what we do.
It's a tough job. We'll take that responsibility, put it on ourselves, get back to you.
Exactly.
We need when they officially release. We need to get them on for a podcast.
Oh, definitely.
I think that'd be a really fun one.
Definitely.
Talk about it, kind of the evolution of the original to where we've got with the Pinky release. That would be an awesome podcast.
Totally.
And we'll have to do it towards the afternoon so we can drink.
Definitely. Even if we don't,
he'll be
we're
drinking.
Alec's always down to drink and smoke and talk.
Exactly.
So we're going to make it happen. What kind of final thoughts we got for the people today, Pew?
If you don't have Diplomatico, if you like rum, even if you don't like rum, if you like bourbon and you're not too sure on rum, pick up a bottle of Diplomatico Reserva. This is not a sponsored segment, but I'd always heard if you like bourbon but you're not too a fan on rum, pick up the Diplomatico Reserva, and I did, and I've started to buy some more rums because of it. So don't be shy if you can find it. I think it's like $36 at most places. Totally worth it just to open up the palate, give you a little bit more options. Great in a cocktail as well.
Yeah, and I smoked a cigar yesterday from one of our packs that I frickin' just love it, of course. But Mil Diaz in Edmundo, that's my favorite size. And I'm a Corona Gorda guy.
Yep.
And we've shipped Corona
really
Gorda.
good.
And then last month we shipped a bunch of people the Edmundo size. Are you kidding me? That cigar is so incredible. And it's just been one of my go-tos recently. So if you guys got that in your pack, smoke it as soon as you can. If you haven't,
absolutely
go buy that cigar.
It's worth it.
It is such a good cigar. They're coming out with a lot more cigars at PCA, which is this weekend, that we've already pre-ordered. So more from Ace Prime, Pichardo, and Crown Heads.
Ace Prime's killing it.
Killing the game right
I haven't had
now.
anything bad out of there, and super excited to see what's coming out.
Oh, I can't wait. But yeah, get your hands on that Mil Diaz Edmundo if you haven't. It's in there, and you'll make sure you take a peek when the new Cigars and Leisure magazine comes out with the top 20 that we did with them. Take a look
Excited
at
to see those rankings.
That top 20. I don't think you'll be surprised with like the number one or the fact of any of them that made it into the top 20.
The top 5, I was like, yep, that makes sense.
Oh, God, it was good. So anyway, Cigar Club family, thanks as always for listening.
Thanks for joining us
every Tuesday on the podcast. Pew, great to be here with you.
Another
good one. We got more coming. Hopefully we can end up, we were talking about doing some stuff in Atlanta coming up. Pew's coming in, and we will be chatting with some really cool people from some pretty awesome brands.
Excited.
So a lot of cool stuff coming on the podcast. Obviously all of our other content's on YouTube as well, so check it out. And yeah, we'll see you at the same time, same place. Like the video, subscribe to the cast.
Comment below. Let us know what you want to see, what you like. We love reading them.
Yeah, definitely. And as always, happy smoking.